Hello, and it's a real pleasure to speak to all of you today. I'm Dr. Priya Pradhan. I'm a pediatric cardiologist, and I welcome you all on behalf of SRCC Children's Hospital run by Narayana Health. So we are a part of the cardiac sciences team, and I'm very happy to introduce to you Dr. Pradeep Kaushik. Dr. Pradeep Kaushik is a senior pediatric cardiac surgeon, and he has a vast experience of nearly 20 years of congenital heart surgeries. He operates on the whole range of congenital heart surgeries. And then we have Dr. Supratim Sen, who is a senior consultant here, and he has special interest in interventional cardiology. So today we are here to discuss about the most commonest cause of a blue baby in the congenital heart diseases, which is tetralogy of Fallot. So I would like to start with Dr. Sen, and I would like to ask him, so can you just tell us a little more about the lesion? So what does tetralogy of Fallot mean, and what actually is happening to the child when they're suffering from this disease?
Right. Thank you, Dr. Priya. So tetralogy of Fallot is the commonest cyanotic heart defect, and this means that these children present with bluish discoloration. So they are blue babies. I'll just show you this diagram. So this is a child, this is a diagram of tetralogy of Fallot, and you can see here that there's a large hole in the heart, and that this vessel which is coming from this pumping chamber has a block in it. So these are the two main defects which we see in tetralogy of Fallot. What this diagram shows is that the blue blood, and this is the impure blood which comes back to the right side of the heart, this, apart from going into the lung arteries, which is this vessel here, is also going across this hole to the left side of the heart, which carries the pure blood. And so because of this mixing, these children have bluish discoloration.
So Dr. Pradeep, they say this is the most commonest cause of blue baby, but how common is this lesion?
So the incidence, what we have seen in our clinical practice is about one kid out of every 2,000 to 3,000 live births. So, and if you talk about all the congenital heart disease, it comprises of 10% of all the congenital heart, and this is the most common cause of the blue baby syndrome.
And so why does this actually occur? What is the cause of this?
So all congenital heart defects, there is usually no specific cause which can be ascertained. There are various associations which are seen. For example, if a child has a syndrome, then they can have a congenital heart defect in slightly greater percentage than the general population. Specifically for tetralogy of Fallot, there is a syndrome known as DiGeorge syndrome, where these patients have tetralogy of Fallot more commonly. But if you see all our patients of TOF, very few of them have a specific cause which can be looked up and identified.
So how do you come to know that this patient is suffering from this lesion?
So the first symptom is the bluish discoloration, and what the parents usually see is that when these children cry, they become dark blue or purple in color, and sometimes they can also have breathing difficulty along with this. As the child grows a bit, they have what is known as squatting. So they take this squatting posture which relieves partially this bluish discoloration. Sometimes if they become very blue in color, that means that the oxygen levels are dropping. They might also lose consciousness, and sometimes that can progress to them having fits. So that is the symptoms of the patient. Now when they go to the doctor will hear a sound in the heart known as a murmur, and then they are referred to pediatric cardiologists like us. For us, we do an echocardiogram to confirm the diagnosis, which is an ultrasound of the heart.
So how early can we come to know about this problem? Like, can we know it before the birth of the child or like that?
So nowadays with the modern technology, we can actually detect tetralogy of Fallot antenatally, and antenatally means when the mother is pregnant with her baby, we can detect this condition, and it can be picked up as early as 15 to 16 weeks of gestation.
So what do you do, like if you diagnose a mother and that the child she is bearing has this problem, so what kind of advice would you give to these parents?
So generally this is a congenital heart defect with good long-term outcomes. So even if we detect it before birth, we would advise the parents to continue with their pregnancy, But we do tell them that this child will require surgery after the baby is born. This is not something which will resolve on its own, but with timely treatment these children do well and they have near normal lives.
So now if the mother is having a baby who is suffering from this lesion, is there any specific care she has to take? Is there any specific place where she has to deliver? How fast does she have to see you? Does the baby have to see you after birth? And do you give any specific medications during the pregnancy or immediately after birth to take care of this lesion?
So there is no medication you can give during pregnancy which would improve or treat this defect. Once the defect has happened, it will be there. After birth, it is a good idea for the baby to be seen by a pediatric cardiologist in the first few days of life. And that is because we cannot predict what will be the bluish discoloration and how blue and how deprived of oxygen this baby will be after birth. So that can only be found out once we see the baby after they are born. So yes, the first checkup should be within the first few days of life. And based on the findings of that checkup, we can then decide how frequently the baby needs a follow-up and when they need corrective surgery.
So you're saying that they will need corrective surgery. There is no kind of medicines that can treat this problem?
Correct. So there are two types of treatment in tetralogy. There is no medicine which will cure the defect, but we can give a medicine which will restrict what are known as cyanotic spells in these babies. So these babies have episodes where the bluish discoloration increases and where they become more breathless. And we do have a specific medicine which can be given which would decrease the frequency of these cyanotic spells. There are also a group of diseases, treatment options known as palliative treatments, and then there is the corrective surgery.
Okay, so since corrective surgery is required for every child, can you just, Dr. Pradeep, tell us more about these surgeries? I've also heard that there are some temporary surgeries and some permanent surgeries. So can you just elaborate more on those?
Yeah, so based on the parents' complaint, what the baby is having, like how many times the baby is turning into blue, and is the bluish discoloration to that extent that the baby almost becomes unconscious. So that is kind of a very severe blue episode. Then we check the oxygen levels of the baby when they come to our OPD, and we see the echo to just see how the anatomy overall looks like. So if everything is suitable, then we try to do the complete repair in one stage around 6 to 9 months of age. That's what our institution policy is. But if suppose the baby is turning blue and is not yet achieved 6 months of age and is only 1 or 2 months of life, then we have to do surgery in stages, and the first stage is just to relieve the bluish discoloration by doing a BT shunt operation, and it is called as a palliative because it's just relieving your cyanosis. The problem of the hole and the narrowing remains there. So once we do this first stage surgery, it has to be followed by complete repair in which we take down the first operation.
So lot of parents have been asking about what actually this surgery is. Can you just explain what actually you do during the surgery?
Sure. So first of all, I'll tell you what is stage surgery, and this is a diagram of the heart with the tetralogy of Fallot, in which you have one hole and the passage which takes this blue blood to the lungs to get purified and get oxygenated is narrow, and hence there is mixing of this blue blood with the pure oxygenated blood, and that goes to the body. So what we do in this first stage surgery is that we connect a pipe, artificial pipe, from this body pipe into the lungs pipe, so that there is blood going into the lungs which is narrow. Here we just bypass that thing, and there is more oxygenated blood comes to the heart. By doing the BT shunt, we increase the baby's oxygen level and baby will be less blue. But this is a temporary operation and it has to be followed by a complete repair. And which is, now if you see this diagram as compared to the previous one, so we have closed the hole, the communication between these two, and we have opened this passage which takes the blood to the lungs, and simultaneously we take down the first temporary operation. So this is called as a complete repair.
Dr. Pradeep, would you like to tell us how long does this procedure take and how long is the hospital stay and what all needs to be done prior to the surgery and after the surgery?
Okay, so as I mentioned, once the baby comes to our outpatient clinic, we assess, and if the parameters are fulfilling that the baby needs surgery and is ready for surgery, or because of the symptoms we have to intervene, then we ask the parents to get admitted. So 1 day admission, and then we send all the blood investigations and we do all the pre-operative necessary X-ray, ECG. Once everything is within normal range for the baby to go for surgery, we arrange the blood which is required for the open heart surgery, and next day we post the baby for surgery. Usually the operation takes about 4 to 6 hours, and after that the baby remains in ICU for 2 to 3 days in the post-operative period, and parents are allowed to visit twice in a day in the ICU also to see the baby. And once the baby is healthy and we do not need much of monitoring, we transfer the baby to the ward, and one of the parents stays with the baby in the ward. So another 3 to 4 days in the ward, and then we check echo before we relieve them from home. So this takes about 8 to 10 days of time in the hospital for the complete repair.
So what about the sutures? So do you have to come again to take down the sutures? Is it very painful during the procedure? What do you think about that and what kind of
So the surgery per se is not painful, because as soon as we take the baby inside the operating room, we give anesthesia medication so that the baby is anesthetized and do not feel any pain. And after the surgery also we give certain medications, the pain medications. As far as the suture removal is concerned, all the sutures are, whatever we use, are absorbable. They just remain inside and gets absorbed with the body with time. And there are only 1 or 2 sutures which needs to be removed 2 weeks after the surgery, and it hardly takes about a minute to remove both the sutures. It's not at all painful. So they can remove it at their local place if somebody can do it, or else they can come here and we will do it.
So how often do they have to come back to you once this procedure is done? Is it the timing same for both the surgeries? Like you talked about 2 surgeries, so whatever you described, is it the same for both the surgeries, or the first one takes lesser time? Is it something like that?
So after the first surgery, the baby has to be in constant follow and has to take one medication for the blood to be thin, so that whatever the tube we have put should not get blocked or clotted. And after the second surgery, the medications usually stops at 4 to 6 weeks. So suppose we have done complete repair, the baby has to come 3 to 6 months for follow-up echo, and later on the frequency becomes once in 1 or 2 years.
And do they have to come like for life, or does it stop sometime?
So it depends. If suppose there is a valve, the narrow passage is a valve, pulmonary valve. If we could preserve the pulmonary valve, then probably the patient needs follow-up till 15 to 18 years. Suppose the valve was very narrow and we had to cut it open for the passage during the complete repair, then they have to be, they might require a replacement or a pulmonary valve implantation by the age of 15 to 18 years. So they have to be on constant follow-up even after that.
So with respect to these pulmonary valve replacement which Dr. Pradeep was mentioning, is there any other way other than surgery that these valves can be replaced?
Yes, so over the last 2 decades, we as interventional cardiologists have started putting in valves percutaneously, and what that means is that we go from the vessels of the groin into the heart, and these are specialized valves which are sewn onto a stent. A stent is like a spring which goes over a balloon. So when this catheter goes into the heart and we blow up the balloon, the stent is deployed and there's a valve inside which has the same function as putting in a surgically implanted valve. So this is being done in India over the last 5 to 6 years, and as this procedure becomes more common, the cost of this procedure should come down. So hopefully in the next decade, this will be quite a commonplace procedure for us in caring for these patients with tetralogy of Fallot.
So how is the quality of life of these patients which you operate? So are they like normal children? Can they do all the activities? Is there any restriction? Would you like them to advise restricting certain sport activities? What kind of advice do you give them?
So once we have done the complete repair, the babies are off medications in 4 to 6 weeks, as I mentioned, and there's no restriction of diet or physical activity. They can go to schools, high schools, they can play any sports, but they have to be constantly in the follow. If suppose they need to have a pulmonary valve intervention required, then there might be some restriction of the activity. Otherwise, they can resume their routine life and activity. There's no restriction for any sports.
What kind of lifespan do we see? Do they have a decreased lifespan, or do they live as long as people without any problems, heart problems?
Well, the follow-up of most congenital heart defects, I would say in our country is maybe about 30 to 40 years. And specifically with this disease, the long-term outcomes are excellent. Some of our patients have gone on to become pregnant and bear children, and usually if the valve is not leaking, they have a normal outcome. If there is a leakage in the valve, as we mentioned, it needs to be replaced, or either with a surgical valve or a transcatheter valve. And as long as the heart function is normal, for which you need the initial treatment and the initial surgeries to be done at the right time, they have normal life expectancy. We still see a few patients who present to us very late, and these are patients whose hearts and their whole bodies have been exposed to very low oxygen levels for many years. And these patients often will come to us initially itself with some weakness of their heart muscle, and these are the children who don't do well in the long term. So the message I would like to put across is, if it is diagnosed at the right time and treated at the right time, they lead a normal life.
So I think I've tried to cover most of the questions which parents ask us. But if there are any more questions, please feel free to ask in this forum. And so that's the take home from all of us, that this is a serious heart problem. It causes bluish discoloration of the baby. The baby is blue, but if treated in time and treated with eminent cardiac surgeons and cardiologists, this disease has a good lifespan, and children can live a near normal life and can live their whole lifespan quite efficiently.